wearing black to mourn the ending of Married at First Sight. This is definitely giving some family affairs level of drama. Nathan and Lacey, and they're just so in love with each other. It'd be interesting to know whether they shared a bed that night. You ain't about to call me out of my government biblical name, yeah? In front of a whole room full of people and call me a C-bomb. I just don't understand like why you'd come somewhere and mug me off like that in front of everybody and act basically like you hate me. She's still crying. But then he carries on reading the vows, and I'm like, well, what's the point in carrying on reading the vows? How has she read them? So I didn't really understand that. Was giving very like theatric Dame of Doom. Right? It's done. Yeah, it's dead. It's deceased. R.I.P. Like, what is going on? What going on, people? Dems. So I'm wearing black to mourn the ending of Married at First Sight. This is the final week, and I feel like I need to wear the black to mourn the death of Married at First Sight. Wow. This is like some... Anyone remember Family Affairs? This is definitely giving some Family Affairs level of drama. I mean, all right, okay, so we are at the final vows. The reunion is on tonight, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm going to be watching that straight after this. So final vows, you've got, bearing in mind that the final dinner party was an absolute shambles, right? An absolute shambles. With all the shouting and the you effing so it started off with Sasha and Ross, and they're talking about final vows and stuff, and then they're both just talking about how, you know, they don't really want to be apart from each other, and you know, Ross is like, you know, I don't want to leave you. Obviously, we've got a lot to consider, particularly because of Blue. She's the same. How much she loves him, and she gets really emotional at that point. Even just the thought of, I guess, leaving this apartment. And I guess it's got to be difficult because they've been in this bubble, protected by the experiment and the experts for this length of time, and it's coming now to crunch time. Do you know what I mean? To find that actually is the person that I've fallen in love with really in love with me, and are they going to do what I'm hoping they're going to do? So I did kind of feel for them at that moment, but I was like, wow, like, you know, there's a lot of pressure there. Then it goes to Luke and Amy, and Amy's ordered something from Prime. So I don't know whether we needed to know that it came from Amazon Prime, but it did. So shout out to Amazon Prime. And it was a John Longbelly, a little like stuffed animal thing. And it was really cute. She's like, you know, I've got this for you, so you can cuddle this and like think about our times together. He was really moved by that and stuff, and you know, I think they both were like, oh, it's really weird that you know, we're now moving out of the apartment and stuff after spending so much time here. And I think it's dawning on Luke how much he really likes her, and how, you know, he's really hoping that even with the white lies and stuff, that, you know, that they're able to kind of move past it and stuff, and that Amy can kind of see the benefit of him. She's like, yeah, you know, he's attractive and he's funny. She's like, but you know, I just don't know whether I can see past the white lies, really. The lies just... And you know, again, I can't really fault her for that, because I'd be the same. It's a bit like when someone does something for you, like, and you know, you're really, really grateful for it, but it's tainted because, I don't know, they punched your cat or something, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just great stuff that you've done, like, without context, brilliant. But when you kind of put the context in and around it, it's a little bit like, oh, I don't know. Then it goes to Nathan and Lacey, and you know, they're just so in love with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's really gonna miss him when she goes. He's gonna miss her, and I think for them, like, Final Vows is more about. It's not necessarily about like, will they show, won't they show, will they want to proceed. It's more about how they're able to express that to each other, or specifically Nathan to Lacey. So I suppose that's quite. It's a good place to be in at this point of the experiment, bearing in mind that some people ain't in that position. Then Polly and Adam. Well, the opening shot of them two is him sat stone faced, facing the TV. So you got Polly here, he's facing the TV, and he's just sat there stewing. And she's like, so shall we speak about last night? I mean, if I'm honest, on the back of how it ended yesterday, I'm surprised that they weren't sleeping in separate apartments. So it'd be interesting to know whether they shared a bed that night, whether, someone slept on the sofa, because you ain't about to call me out of my government biblical name, yeah, in front of a whole room full of people and call me a C-bomb and expect that me and you were going to draw snore in the same room tonight. No, that's not happening. And I think in that regard, he would have been within his rights to be like, I don't really want to be around you. But clearly, they're in the same apartment, so I presume they must have stayed the night. But then what I just found really weird, because he didn't answer her, so she was like, shall we talk about last night? And he just sat there, just still. And I was like, don't get me wrong, yeah. Like, if I'm not ready to talk to somebody, like, just don't talk to me. Like, until I've thawed out, right? And I will thaw out in my own time, right? But I'm just not going to be in a position to ignore you. I'm not going to sit there and ignore you. I'd just sit in another room, or I'd go somewhere, or, like, I'm just not going to do that. I just thought it was really weird. Anyway, she was kind of like, well, shall we? And he's like, well, I don't think it's funny, do you? And it's like, obviously she doesn't think it's funny. It's just a very awkward scenario, isn't it? She's like, look, I've said I'm sorry about what I said to you yesterday. And he's like, I just don't understand like why you'd come somewhere and mug me off like that in front of everybody and act basically like you hate me. And she's like, well, it's obvious I don't hate you, because if I hated you, I wouldn't still be sat here talking to you. Like, I obviously like you. I've apologized for what I said. It was obviously a heat of the moment thing. And he's like, I would never say that to you. And she's like, yeah, but, you have said things to me in the heat of the moment. And like I said, I've apologized. I don't know what else I can really say aside from, this is not the position I'd want to be in, like going to final vows and stuff. And he's just like, again, I just don't know why you'd say those things. And it's like, even though she's apologized, he's not ready to let it go. And I feel like that's kind of like a constant theme. Like, that when he's annoyed about something, he will, like, if we take it back to the whole Stephen thing and how he was like so upset about the fact that, that she wanted to twist with someone else. And it's like, but you've told her verbatim, yeah, that she's not your brunette baddie. You've told her family, you've told her friends, you've told anyone that's willing to listen that you don't want to look in this gal's eyes and kiss her. Like, so, if she's feeling a little bit like, oh, actually, this guy's got some of the stuff that I would like, it's probably ill thought, really. But you held it against her for ages, for absolutely ages, brought it into homestays and stuff, was really, mean to her, and just unnecessary. So I think it's a bit rich that now she's apologized. I mean, again, let's keep it qualified though. The outburst that she had, whilst I think she may have been right in a sense to, to finally say enough now, enough. I feel like she actually also can't be upset if someone isn't prepared to either accept the apology or not upset yet, because it was quite a display of stuff. And I think like you lose a lot of, it's kind of like I'm saying with the whole Sasha situation, like you lose a lot of your moral standing when you decide that you're going to act in that way, because then people only see the outburst and they don't really see the root cause of it, which is a gaslighter's dream, to be honest. But yeah, so they don't really get anywhere with that. He looks like he kind of just goes into the bedroom, picks up his stuff, and S's out. No bye, no see you later, not see you at final hours, just, unless it was edited out anyway, there was no interaction between the two. So I'm like, right, okay, well this does not bode well. Then it goes to them all being at their own individual homes. So Sasha's back at her parents in Warsaw. Ross is back with his mum and his sister in Manchester. Both sets of families are basically like, well, you're obviously not going to the other person's city because your life's here. Sasha's telling her parents that, they've had another argument and stuff and they got into it. And actually, I'm quite surprised that her dad, his response was quite calm still. I thought he'd be like, yeah, what? You effing what? But actually, he was just like, that's the, because she was like, that's the reason I don't want to go to Manchester, and they completely like supported that, being like, you've got no security. Like, I want to make sure that you're safe, which to me is a cold word, really, because it's like you want to make sure that she's safe. That's not a great position to be in, really. And you know what? Again, context is important, because when sorry, I'm coming down with a cold. When Ross was talking to his family, and they were like, I just don't really understand why she wouldn't come here. Like, and he's like, because we've had the arguments and stuff, and it can get really, really fiery, and then it's like a competition as who's going to outfire the other person. They were like, yeah, but you've got your daughter. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't really make sense as to why she isn't coming here. Now, if you just were to hear that on its own and just be like, his daughter's in Manchester, she says she's in love with him, why must he move to Warsaw? But I think understanding like the arguments that they've had, and the fact that actually they can get quite volatile, really, I can completely understand why she's like, I'm not prepared to uproot my life and everything that I know here and have nothing in Manchester, when I'm not certain. It might even be that eventually that they move back up to Manchester. It might be that when they're in Warsaw for a while, and that she can establish that the relationship is going to be, a strong one with good, strong foundations and stuff. Yeah, man, let's move to Timbuktu in blue if we need to. Do you know what I mean? Like, but for now, so I can understand why people would be like, why don't you just move? But I can also appreciate it's like, I'm not. I need more time for you to prove that uprooting my life is enough. Do you know what I mean? But in saying that, I think like her expectation then, if he doesn't then move, like, should be completely understood. And as we'll see later, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Then it goes to Luke and Nathan. I keep saying Luke and Nathan. Luke and Amy, and Amy's gone back to her home. Luke's gone back to his house. Luke's chilling with his best friend in the garden. She's chilling with her best friend in the living room with the glass of vino and the dog. And Luke's had a little haircut as well, suits him. And he's basically saying, look, he's leveling with the friend about how much he likes Amy, but he's aware that his white lies. And I really hate the term white lies, by the way. Can we just can we do away with the white part, like, as in, like, what's the opposite of a worse lie then? Is that a black lie? Like, I just hate that, because ultimately a lie is a lie. Yeah, you can say that it was only a small, bending of the truth or whatever, but if it's not honest, yeah, it's a lie. It's a lie. So, she's well within her rights. If you had multiple lies, whether they're white lies or not, they're still lies. So when he's saying to his friend, like, oh, because she thinks I'm a liar, because I've, there's of the few things that I've told lies about. Well, you can end the conversation there. Then she thinks you're a liar because of the few things that you've lied about, but the few things that you've lied about are not only unnecessary, like, because the example he was giving, he was like, about, like, the thing with the fridge. He was like, imagine if I'd walked into her house and I'd seen her on, in the picture of some DJ from Ibiza or something, and it's like, so what if you did? It was before you, and that might be someone that she's friends with now. Like, I can honestly say that there are people that I have dated or, been in relationships with that are now exes or whatever, and I'm still friends with them. There is absolutely no romantic intent whatsoever. If it ever came to it, and my current partner was like, I'm not comfortable with you, well, then it would depend on the level of friendship I've got with that friend. Do you know what I mean? But realistically, a picture means nothing, really. Do you know what I mean? It's just a picture. It's a picture of me. So I don't think, I understand that that could make someone feel insecure potentially. If you're like, well, who is that? But once you explain who it is, the argument's done in it. If I'm trustworthy and you trust me, like, it's only if you don't trust me because I've told you lots of lies, why you would then be like, oh, actually, I don't know who that person is. Anyway, Amy and Alex are talking, and Alex is basically like, yeah, someone that tells you lies is not the kind of man you want as a husband, is it really? Amy does level it out and say, look, there are some positives and stuff, and when we're good, we are really good. He's funny, I'm attracted to him, and he is genuinely a nice person. But yeah, I think she's struggling with the lies thing. Lacey's back with her family, and she tells them that that she loves that they've dropped the album and stuff, and they're really, really excited. I can't remember who Nathan he obviously does go back to his families, but he's more focused again about getting his vows right and making sure that like he says the right things to Lacey. So that's what he's stressing out about. So then it goes to the actual final vows. So for Sasha and Ross, the insight, I'm presuming it must have all been within the same like grounds or whatever. So they've used like different parts of the grounds for each final vow. So for Sasha and Ross, they've got like this stairwell which they've kind of adorned with all these like flowers and candles, and he does look really amazing. And to be fair, this is probably the best that I've ever seen Sasha. I think the dress she was in was beautiful. And you know, just watching her kind of walk in like that, I just thought, wow, like you look like a princess. You actually do. And what I thought was really weird is that Ross didn't comment on it. It wasn't like, oh my god, you look stunning. Oh my god, you look beautiful. Like, and actually, all of the other husbands did. Nathan did. Luke did. Even Adam said how Polly looked nice. But Ross didn't say anything, and unless they edited it out anyway. We didn't see that he said anything. So Ross is giving his vows, and just before that, Sasha said again that she's really nervous about what he's gonna say. Like she's actually learned her vows with sign language as well. Because even to like learn what you're gonna say off the top of your head, or even that in itself is a dedication that you want to show the person how much it's meant to you. But to then do that within sign language on top of that, I thought that was a real testament to how she feels about him. So I thought, wow, that's really impressive. Anyway, so he's reading out his vows to her, and you know, he's talking about how much he loves her and stuff, and well, from the beginning of the journey anyway, how like he knew there was a connection, how it's not a competition, but he's felt that they've been one of the strongest for the longest time in the experiment. But it's not been without its hurdles and the arguments that they've had, and not wanting to have that kind of those kind of issues moving forward, and also where they're gonna live, and how he's got to make the right decision for him. Anyway, it's all sounding very much like he ain't coming to Warsaw. That's where it sounds like it's going. But before he can really finish what he's doing, Sasha's obviously reacting to what he's saying, and she's obviously getting more and more concerned that he's not moving to Warsaw. So I think the line that probably hit her was that like he felt that he was losing himself with all the arguments and stuff in the experiment. It's like, are you okay? And she's like, no. She's like, you said there, yeah, that you've been losing yourself because of me. And he's like, not necessarily just because of you, like because of the experiment and everything. And she's like, I'm feeling like what you're saying is that you're not coming to Warsaw. Then basically she snatches the vows from him, and then she starts reading through them. I don't think you've had my back in these vows. I don't think you've had my back in these vows at all. And then there's this whole dramatic thing where she's like, I need some time. I need a few minutes and stuff. So she picks up the dress and she's running basically down the stairs and stuff. And she goes off. And honestly, I have not heard bawling like it, like bawling, like that proper sobbing. Like, I'm not ridiculing her for crying. If you're upset, you cry. It was just such a huge response to something that hasn't even finished. And what I thought was really interesting is if she has then read his vows, because eventually once all that crying is done, she eventually comes back and like she hugs him and he hugs her. She's still crying. But then he carries on reading the vows, and I'm like, well, what's the point in carrying on reading the vows? How has she read them? So I didn't really understand that. But he carries on reading basically, and he's like, so I don't want to rip you away from your family, and I've got to do what's right for me, and that's why I've decided I'm moving to Warsaw. And she's just like stunned, like absolutely stunned. And I was like, but you read it, didn't you? So maybe they only let her read one card, maybe, I don't know, but it looked like she didn't know, even though she just read them. And like she's obviously over the moon with that. Then she does her vows, and again it was just a really beautiful moment because she's signing her vows, man, and you can see how much she loves him, and it's funny because I think at first I thought that he was more into her than she was into him, whereas now I think she's more into him than he's into her, if I'm honest. Like, I'm sure he does love her, I'm not saying that at all, but I kind of feel that she really 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 loves him. So they go off into the distance and stuff, and they're all really really happy, and yeah, it's really nice. It's really really nice. But again, a bit tainted because of the whole bit in the middle, and it's like I don't know, man. Like it does feel as though, like I said earlier, like if you're not prepared to move to Manchester, understandable because of the actions, but then you also need to be prepared and understand that like he may not be prepared to leave his daughter, which I mean I can only imagine that like his daughter doesn't live with him, which is the reason why it's okay for him to move away, because I can't see why he would, like, he's not going to move Blue down to Warsaw. Look, we don't know the ins and outs of his personal business, but all I'm saying is that there must be, for Blue to be such a consideration for him and for him still to move to Warsaw, then it must be that he's not going to be disrupting her pattern by moving to Warsaw. Do you know what I mean? But irrespective of that, I just think like that bit in the middle, I don't want to say emotionally manipulative because ultimately you just feel how you feel, but I feel like that level of sobbing and he hadn't even finished. I don't know. So either way, all's well that ends well. He's moving to Warsaw, so that's great. Then it goes to Luke and Amy, and it's amazing how like your opinion can change just like that from someone, because I've liked Amy this whole time. This whole time, like Luke and Amy together, I've liked them as a couple, but I've really, really, I've really liked Amy's late, like how ladylike she is, and I think she's done a real good job of sticking with something, which I don't think many people would have. I'm telling you now, as much as I love Luke, like I couldn't have someone that I was constantly finding out something else that wasn't true, because this world's a dangerous world, man. And I need to know that like me and you've got each other's corner, got each other's backs, regardless. I don't want to hear about some ridiculous like completely irrelevant lie that's gonna derail my trust in you. I don't want to hear about that. And to have so many things, like I think she's done a good job of staying in there. But by the end of this, I was like, mate, either the producers have had an absolute field day here, or you're just not a great person. Because what? So Amy's deciding between which two dresses she's gonna wear. I think as well, when you kind of like go off someone, like there's just things that just start to annoy you about them. Like, so for me, the pouting throughout this whole little set, yeah, was just like ugh. Anyway, so she's deciding between these two dresses. She's got the white one. It's white, like frilly looking dress, and that's going to be the one if she decides to continue with the marriage. But then she's got this black Scottish widow's dress, which she's going to wear if she decides that she's going to be mourning the wedding, the marriage, and leaving it in the past. And then you got Luke, who he's really hopeful about whether or not they can continue. Like his hope today is that they leave, hand in hand, and he's wearing his wedding suit. Like I'm gonna wear my wedding suit to show how committed I am to the future of marriage and stuff. So they come through to this. It's like a it looks like like a stately home or castle grounds or something. It's got like this like garden maze or whatever. So he walks through with these like really long, ethereal looking like fern trees or whatever. I don't know if they're fern trees, but these trees. He walks through, there's like a dial in the middle, and like he's waiting there like for Amy. Now obviously she's already told us that depending on what decision she goes for will depend on whether or not she is going ahead with the marriage or not. So the black or the white dress. So we see Luke look to his right, and he looks really smart, by the way, really smart, really hopeful. And he looks to his right, and he's like, "Oh, there's my beautiful wife. I can see her come in." And then and then there's like all the dramatic music, like what's she gonna wear? Which one's she gonna be in? And then as she comes up, she's wearing like all black, like the headpiece with the netted front, like the gloves, the pearl, the red lip. She looks stunning. I will say that she did look stunning. But it was given very like theatric Dame of Doom. Right. So anyway, Luke goes first, and he gives a really lovely set of vows. Talking about how he really feels that Amy is the one for him. Like he wasn't quite sure like he knows that like a lot of the lows that they've had in the marriage is due to him, and causing them with some of the untruths that he's told, and that he wasn't sure why she was cold with him initially, or that she even liked him, but eventually the ice started to melt. You know, when I think about the right person for me, it's you. Like, I want us to stay together. You know, I really hope that, you know, when we leave here, that it's hand in hand, and that we, you know, be two sets of footprints in the sand, one from, you know, a car boot sale, and one from a designer heel. Um, which makes a laugh. And I don't know, there were just a couple of moments of what he and how he was talking, that made me go, ah. And I felt like she was almost feeling emotional about it as well. Because obviously, again, he's talking with all this hope. We all know that she's wearing the dress of death. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we know already that, like, he's not going to go any further forward. So anyway, once he's done, she then starts talking about how she's and it's a proper like well, it's not even a doo-doo sandwich actually, because a doo-doo sandwich usually starts with something good, something bad, and then ends with something good. This was just good and then just went straight to hell. So she's like, you know, thank you so much for being like, you know, kind and funny, and you know, you're such an attractive man, and you know, you've taught me a lot about myself. I've grown in this, and you've helped with that. She's like, but you know, a lot of the lies that you've told, you know, have eroded the trust, and basically what we knew she was going to say, that, you know, there's not a lot of trust there. What I didn't expect for her to do though is to go so hard on him, because yeah, okay, look, I can't build something with you because I can't trust you. So, and she did say, look, I've just find that now I find that I don't believe a word that's coming out of your mouth. And I think again that's fair, because you've told me things that I don't know are true or not. So I think that's fair. But when she was talking about her worth and how you are not worthy of me, so that's why I'm wearing black, to mourn this marriage, because it's done. It is dead. It's deceased. R.I.P. I was like, I'm sorry, pardon. So when he was Frenching the dog, like, did he bury him in his patio or something? Because the level of vim that you've got for Luke in this moment is a little bit unhinged. Like, I do understand that, yeah, okay, fair enough. Like, you know, he's told these lies and stuff, and it's made you like distrustful of him. Absolutely understandable. But you've said already that you know, you've got a good friendship with this person. Like, he's funny. You know, he's a gentleman. You've always said he's a gentleman. Um, which I did find a bit weird actually, because he started off giving her proper princess treatment and then ended up just giving her a bowl of brown flakes for breakfast. So that wasn't that gentlemanly. But he seemed in the main that he was, you know, a good guy to you. Why are you acting like it's Hannibal Lecter? Why are you like, you know, you really want to go for the jugular, you know, because this is done. I'm wearing black to show you how done we are. And the fascinator with the red lip. It's done, yeah? It's dead. It's deceased. R.I.P. Like, what is going on? So, and then she whisks away, you know, in this long dress and whatever, and it just felt overtly dramatic. And you know, my opinion of her went straight down. I was like, there was no need for that. Sorry, I don't think he deserved that level. There have been people in this experiment that have been far worse. For me, this is the kind of speech that Polly should have given. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of speech that Polly should have given. But, you know, it was just too much, man. Like the whole Cruella de Vil, what is it? And then poor Luke, you know, he really struck me as like a Labrador at that in that moment, like a chocolate Labrador, yeah. That's just, I'm just so sad. You know, I thought that I didn't really think I deserved all of that in the way that Amy went, but you know, I really wanted us to walk away hand in hand together, but you know, Amy doesn't want, you know, any part of that, of the relationship anymore. So, and you know, again, that was likely going to be the outcome. So I think, you know, he probably would have needed to prepare himself for that, really. Um, but you know, he will learn from that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's gonna learn that honesty is the best policy always. Like, you know, you can soften the blow a little bit, but like, it's always better to be honest. And you know, she's hopefully gonna learn from this that you don't need to ham it up like that to tell someone that you don't want to be with them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's them done. Then it goes to Nathan and Lacey, and Nathan and Lacey. She's walking up some steps. So again, she looks really nice as well. Hair's all down and curly, and the dress is really nice. He looks really good in his suit. He gets there first. Again, she goes up some stairs. I can't remember that they're in the middle of something. Maybe again it's in the part of the house. Maybe I don't know. But she comes up some stairs anyway, and she does her vows first. And this one, I'd say, is the only one of the four that I had tears in my eyes, like genuine tears in my eyes. Like I'm not too big to admit that. I mean, I cry pretty much every day on this channel anyway. But yeah, like I actually had tears in my eyes. Like I had tears in my eyes for her and what she was saying, and how she thought he was too good looking for her and that he was going to hurt her, and that communication was going to be a problem. But she learned, when he started to open up more and stuff, that actually, how much he did care, and he started to open these layers of himself and stuff, and she understood the relationship a lot more, and that's how she loves him, how she really, really loves him. And her getting teary, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just smiling like for them, and because you can see how much it meant to them, how much they genuinely meant to each other. Then when it got to Nathan's vows, I think for someone who is a self-confessed, not necessarily great with his words and doesn't, say a lot all the time, he really stated, he really outlined exactly their journey, like, what that's meant to him, what she means to him. And he was really struggling to get through it as well, and again, that shows genuine emotion. When they could, I think the bits that they've really connected on is when they were talking about how they just understood each other, like, and how she really understands him, and how he loves the fact of how much she understands him too, and how he thought he was going to lose her at one point because she was going to give up, because she needed that kind of vocal reassurance and stuff, and the fact that, and this is what I mean about like the difference between people like Adam and Polly and Nathan and Lacey. Nathan has got a condition, which means that he's not the most vocal when it comes to things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just his nature, and yet he has taken the time, because it's important to the person that he's with, and that's their love language. He's taken the time to adapt himself because the effort is worth it. He loves her, and I think just seeing that difference and just how much those vows meant to her, it was just like, wow, this is what it looks like when somebody wants to. You haven't got to browbeat them. You've not got to, haven't got to get no friendship advice. The experts don't need to lambast them on the couch every week. It's just, this is important to me, and if you care about me enough, then hopefully it's something that you can at least attempt to do. And they're so happy, picks her up, and yeah, man, it was a real beautiful moment, that was, and they were really, really happy for it. I'm just happy for them. And then they did this whole little like Fresh Prince of Bel Air kind of like high five thing or whatever. It was just cool, man. It's just really cool. Really like that. Um, and then it gets to Polly and Adam. And like I said, for me, I'm surprised that there even was a final vows. To be real, like I would not have expected, given the state of what happened, that there would even be a point of them like meeting up to do final vows. Because if it wasn't surely dead before, it's got to be dead now. Got to be. The man walked out the apartment. Oh, I didn't mention about their homestay, did I? So before Polly and Adam's wedding, when they went back to their individual homes, Polly's with her mum and Alfie, and she's relaying to them about how things have gone and stuff, and how, and you know already that Alfie has been Adam's original OG hater from day one, from not even day one, from minute 32. 32 minutes in of seeing you stood up there, yeah, and watched my friend walk in, and you've not said nothing nice to her. Me can't stand you. And it's been that way pretty much ever since. And Adam made it worse by opening his mouth and saying the most ridiculous things to someone's best friend. But anyway, so Polly's relaying to them both about how it's been really confusing for her, how he's continued to be kind of handsy with her, but then at the same time also saying that there's no sexual connection, but then still sleeping with her, but then also like, slapping her bum and this kind of stuff. I mean, fair play to her, because I'm never going to be in a position where I'm talking to my mum and my dad about anything sexual with my partners. You must be crazy. Call me a baby. Call I don't business. We're not me and my friends absolutely, but I'm not talking to my parents about that. Sorry, but anyway, that just goes to show how open she is. The mum's like, but everything was just so nice when you were here. And she's like, it was. She's like, but it hasn't stayed that way. And Alfie's like, what is the benefit, that he's getting out of being like this with you? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, look, I got to ask you the honest question. She's like, do the benefit, the pros outweigh the cons of this? And she's like, I feel like, again, when we're good, it's good, and there are definite qualities that are great there. And he's like, I just think, well, they both said the same thing. I just think you're defending the wrong man. I think he's not the right man for you. And then he says to the VT, she's like, I am categorically certain, yeah, that he is not the right man for Polly, and she can find anybody else out there that can give her anything better. Basically, anybody out there right now can give Polly better than what Adam's giving her. So they've spoken. Conversely, Adam's friend is like, he's asking about how things have been, because obviously the last time that they saw each other, things had kind of blown up. And he was like, yeah, home stage was great. I saw a side to her that I really liked. And, but then we got back to the apartments, and then old Polly just came back with the nagging and the fact that we're still arguing and bickering about the same things that we were arguing about in week one. And I think most people would say that, like, you know, the things that bother you initially, like, listen to them. Listen to your gut, because your gut never lies. And to be aware that actually, what was I watching? And someone was saying that. I was literally watching that, and someone was saying that. I can't remember, but someone that either had been married or in a relationship, or someone basically said, look, just trust your gut, because your gut doesn't lie. And to be aware of the things that, are affecting you in the beginning, they will fundamentally affect you later down the line. And 9 times out of 10, the things that you'll separate over will be those exact same things, because you can't really change anybody. And I think, well, you can't change anybody that isn't wanting to change. Like, you can't make someone do something that they don't want to do. So the fact that he's acknowledging the fact that they're still bickering about the same things, it's like, well, again, then why are you here? Why have you been here this whole time? If you know that you're never going to do the things she's asking for, why have you chosen to stay with her? But anyway, so the friend's a lot more hopeful, and he's like, look, all that shouting and stuff is probably because she wanted to hurt you, but obviously there must have been some good things for you to stay. And he does say that, like, we do get on, and we are like really good friends and stuff and whatever. But again, I'm like, how can you say that you're really good friends and you're prepared to talk to your good friend like that, or that you're not prepared to see why your friend is upset? Do you know what I mean? I find those two things really difficult to kind of reconcile. So anyway, fast forward to the wedding, the final vows, sorry, and they are meet, because he's walking through the same grounds, it looks like, that Luke was walking through, as does Polly when Amy was walking through. But where they actually meet is almost at, like, the front of this, like, Colosseum looking building, whatever, these columns. So they meet. Bit confused about Adam's attire. Okay, it looks as though he's wearing braces, but he's wearing the braces down. So I mean, I don't wear braces. So is that how people, is that how we do braces these days now? It's like a cool little, like, they look like almost like cowboy uh gunslinger holder things. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, what is that about? Um, yeah, I don't know. That whole walk down, it just felt really uncomfortable. I don't know if that was just me, but just like, I don't know. But anyway, Polly comes in, and again, she's looking really, really nice. Actually, I really liked her dress, long and flowy. Again, she looked like a really, like, blushing bride, which I thought was really interesting, because aside from, so I wouldn't have said that laces was necessarily a wedding dress. And the same with Sasha. I wouldn't say it was a wedding dress. They were just really nice dresses. But Polly's looked like a wedding dress. Anyway, Adam says, you look nice. And she's like, thank you. So do you. And then she starts her, well, it's only her vows that are read out. So she's like, and she gets emotional straight away. And I did think right at that point, it looked as though that, like, he was emotional too, seeing her emotional. So obviously he's not seen her for a little while, and obviously she starts crying. So I don't think his heart is completely made of stone, but I just think he's a very hard-headed guy. Anyway, so she's going through about how it's been really difficult and how, you know, the journey's been really tough. You know, there's been some really good things about it, like, but there's been some really difficult parts about this journey for her, and that, you know, that he's basically said that he didn't want her to change, but realistically he has wanted her to change. And, you know, the fact that she's loud and she's boisterous, and, you know, that she's tried to not swear and stuff, and she's tried to change all these things and minimize herself, and basically lost herself a little bit in order to try and make this work and to make him happy. But she's like, you know, but for those same characteristics, there is a man out there who will love me for them. And then it kind of takes a bit of a derailment. I won't say derailment, but it goes more into how he's been dishonest, how he's led her on, how he's basically been a liar and a good liar, and that, you know, she wishes him well and wishes that he finds love and stuff, but it won't be with her. That's a very, you know, summary of what she said. Then they end up having like a discussion about what she's put in her vows. So he's just like, you know, a good liar. He's like, I don't think I've lied to you about anything. I've definitely not led you on. And she's like, you definitely have. You know, with the intimacy or the lack thereof, and then, you know, but then at the same time, like, staying here, she's like, you know, I just don't understand. Like, you've made out that there could be a future with me and stuff, but that's never really how you've actually felt. And he's like, I've never ever led you on. She's like, but you have though, and that's what you've lied about. She's like, at the end of the day, she's like, you know, I've always said to you that if you wanted to go, would go, and yet you stayed. Like, why did you stay if you knew that your feelings were never going to change? And he's like, well, because I didn't know they weren't going to change. Like, I thought I'd stay and see if they did. And she's like, yeah, but you knew they weren't going to. And I think what that kind of realization there, yeah, because there's been a couple of like realizations in the last few episodes. The fact that he is giving her some level of PDA, whether it's like, well, not PDA, I guess, because it's not public, but DA. I thought there was no affection that he was showing her. So, you know, if he is being more handsy and stuff, which is kind of what you said you wanted, I was a bit confused as to why is that not enough then? Like, I don't understand why that isn't enough. Like, you've asked for the hands-on stuff, but I suppose it's more that maybe the physical act of love isn't as frequent, because, you know, they've made mention now about this 3 times that they've slept together thing in the 10 weeks or however long this experiment's been going on for, which, you know, is really not a lot. So I wonder if that's where she's coming from. It's like, I'm getting mixed signals about sometimes when you have been intimate with me, then sometimes when you're being handsy with me, but then you're telling me that there isn't any connection. So, you know, she might be wanting to put it on him, and then like he's not giving her anything, which then makes, you know, I can imagine that being a hurtful and rejected feeling, and then that kind of builds up and you become resentful towards that person. But at the same time, if you know that you don't really want this and you don't really want all of this, well, then I beg you, right, leave, and then let's just end the facade. But he ends up walking away anyway, and he's like, this is boring, I'm not bickering about it, this is childish is boring, and he walks off. And then she's like, this is effing embarrassment, you're an effing joke, it's embarrassing. And he's just like, you know, a liar. Like, and I guess when someone's called out on actions like that, like, they take the smug route, the kind of like, you know, I'm gonna laugh it off and be all kind of cold about it. But realistically, like, a lot of people have seen a lot of the same thing. Like, Polly is no angel, like, by any stretch of the mark. But we called it from day one that Adam wasn't interested. So even when he was like, oh yeah, I've got a lot to think about, because that, you know, there are some good things about me and Paul. Like, not good enough that, like, you've been alone with her for 10 weeks and not wanted to kind of. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's rubbish. Is what I don't know what it is that you. I don't know whether you're trying to kind of, like, you know, save. Like she kind of said there, you've tried to kind of save a public image. Like, you know, you've tried to come across as this husband that's this great husband and stuff, but actually you're not. You're just a good liar. And I think there's a lot of credence to that. You know, you probably want to look good and don't want to look like the person that kind of just dipped and left and didn't give it a chance. And I think it's fair that you did that, but I think you need to also be very honest and be like, well, you know, the things that you're doing, like, are you doing them with an intent to actually grow it? Or are you doing it with the intent of looking good? I still go back to those baths and stuff, and running your bath and making tea. Like, that is all well and good, Benson. But that isn't really what I want. Like, I want a relationship that's like, that's born out of things that are deeper, and that physical act and stuff. Like, we're not in our 70s, our 80s, or whatever. I'm not saying that people at that age don't copulate. I'm sure they do. Like, but we're young people, like, where that is a big part of a relationship and stuff, and you're not really giving that, so it's telling me you don't want it, which means in turn you probably don't want me. Anyway, so yeah, he then walks off. Bearing in mind this is the daytime, right? So it's still like daylight or whatever. When they're then filming Polly's bits, because she's like, he needn't think that this is done with. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't get to say everything that I wanted to say. Like, when they're filming all of this and she's walking away again, like a Scottish Widows advert and stuff, but in the white gown. Like, it's like dusk. Do you know what I mean? It's all dusk and whatever, and nighttime looking, and it's like, well, how long have you had this poor woman stood there waiting to edit this video? Because he's left her. It was daylight, and she still stood there in now the dark, upset about it. So I thought that was quite interesting, but yeah. So then it then flashes forward to a clip of, I guess it's the reunion. So I'm presuming after this episode, which is the next one, the reunion, there isn't any more. And you've got I don't know exactly who's with who. My friend did send me a voice note earlier, and near enough was like, well, I've got some spoilers for you, because I don't know who's still with who. I've deliberately not. I know there's been some videos and some articles and so I just haven't read them. So I don't know who's still with who. But from the looks of this clip, you've got Kieran that says Christina, or Christina that says Kieran, and that doesn't seem to go too well. Like, she gets kind of upset. And she's like, I put my life on the line for you. And he's like, I just feel numb. So I'm like, okay. And she ends up walking off. You've got Luke that sees Amy walking in, and like, she looks stunning. He looks great as well. And he says to someone that, of course it's gonna be painful, to see this and stuff. Then you've got, I mean, Adam and not great. You see all the old faces: Charlie, Orson, Penny, Emma, Casper, Sasha, Ross, Lacey, Nathan. You see Hannah is coming in with somebody who's in some kind of like Nike trainers or whatever. So I'm presuming this is Ryan. I think that because she was talking to him before, right? But then, like, looks like it's handbags at dawn again between her and Holly, because they're getting into it. Hannah's screaming, and then Holly's like, you think you're talking to, and stuff. But then the clip that I cannot wait to understand what on earth happened is Adam comes in and he's saying to people that, like, he's had to block Polly, but she doesn't know. And then they're around the table, and I guess she must have been bitching about him or something. So he's like, why are you bitching about someone, yeah, that doesn't want to be with you? And she's like, because I want to. And then it escalates, and it looks like she dashes her red wine all over his like white suit. Wow. I mean, I don't know what I would do at that point. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's the retaliator in me would probably want to pitch someone back over there. I'm not gonna lie. On my good suit that I can't even change out of, and I'm now in front of you, just got what. I would not be happy about that. But you got to think, like, what brings you to the point where you're gonna do that in the first? Like, it's never okay. Like, that is an assault. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. You cannot do that. You're at a civilized dinner party. And all that would do for me is further confirm that you are not the person for me. Like, because I don't want to be the person that's on the receiving end of that, but B, I don't want to be the person that's bringing that out of you, really. Like, so yeah, let's find out what I go on. But yeah, I'm gonna jump into that episode now and see what it's saying. So I'll see you guys. Yeah, if you did enjoy this, then please do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in a little bit for the reunion.